Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Terry and welcome to my kitchen. I live in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And today is another beautiful day. It's September the 12th today. And luckily we've had a lot of smoke coming from fires in the interior of British Columbia and from Washington State. But luckily today it's not so bad. It's not as hazy orange out there as it has been for the last few days. You could almost get out and work in the garden later today. But first, I would like to use some of these zucchini that I've been accumulating and I've been trying to use up in the garden. And maybe you've got a lot of zucchini that you're trying to use up. In past weeks, I've had the grandchildren here and we've made a lot of chocolate zucchini cupcakes with cream cheese icing, which they've absolutely loved, of course, kids and chocolate. But now they've all gone back to school. So I'm back to making the Zucchini Bran Muffins that Grandpa loves so much, and especially since I started adding raisins to them. I also made the recipe I'd found that was zucchini with lemon flavoring in it, that I used some of the lemons from our greenhouse. And I'd like to just modify that recipe a little bit more in the future, in that I'd like to add some lemon extract to it to make it even more lemony. So I'm going to work on that at a later date, but today we're going to forge ahead with no grandkids to help. And so maybe this video will go quicker without them. And we're going to make zucchini bran muffins with raisins. So I'll be right back and we'll get started on that, okay? First thing it calls for is 2 cups of buttermilk. Now I'm making double the recipe because, you know, me and huge amounts of family. But the basic recipe is for 12, so you could always divide this recipe in half. But I'm making 24 of the cupcakes, and it calls for 2 cups of the buttermilk. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, what you can do is, to make buttermilk, you would add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice or vinegar to the cup here, and then bring up the level to the 2 cups. So that would be 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and bring enough milk, put enough milk into there to bring it up to 2 cups. So I'll get busy and do that to make the buttermilk that we need. Now what this recipe asks to do is you have 2 cups of the wheat bran. So I'm going to do this in this glass bowl here. 2 cups of the wheat bran, and then it says to add the 2 cups of the buttermilk. Stir it together and let it sit for 10 minutes. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. The bran and the buttermilk mixed together and set aside for 10 minutes. Or more, depending how long it takes me to get the rest of the stuff mixed together. Okay. Now while that's standing for 10 minutes, the wheat bran and the buttermilk, I'm going to mix up the dry ingredients in this big bowl so that all the wet ingredients can be added to this later. And this is a bowl that my grandmother I got from her after she passed away. Well, actually, she gave it to me before she passed away. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to mix up all the dry ingredients next, okay? So that's 2.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. There we go. A teaspoon of salt, and then I like to sift everything. And once I have all that done, I will go back to the wet ingredients and add to the bran mixture and the buttermilk. I will add 2 beaten eggs, some molasses, some oil, vanilla, the grated zucchini, and some raisins. So I'll finish sifting this and then we'll get on to that part. What do you say there, Hunter? Okay, 2 eggs. All right, 2 eggs beaten. 2 eggs. And then it calls for 1/2 cup of fancy molasses. Okay, and it does say fancy molasses from President's Choice Superstore. So that's 1/2 cup of the molasses. Half a cup of the cooking oil. Two teaspoons of vanilla, and I'm still using the stuff I brought back from Mexico. At least the price of vanilla has declined greatly in the last year. It's about half of what it was 2 years ago. So there we go. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now I'm just going to give this a stir. And then we're going to get out the zucchini and start grating it with the peel on. Even though the zucchini I'm using right now is a little bit bigger than another one in there that's got a much softer skin, I found that using this big one has been just fine. And the skin was a bit tougher, but once it cooked, it was fine. So we're going to use that zucchini up for these muffins. Now, as you can see here, I have this very lovely zucchini, which is a nice size, and the skin is still really nice and soft. I had several smaller ones that were about this long that I used last night to make this kind of a deep fried panko crumbs and Parmesan cheese, cut into circles, these ones were, and dipped in the flour, the egg, the panko breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese and spices, and fried. And they weren't too bad. It was a recipe I'd never tried before. And they were quite good, kind of like that you get at restaurants, I guess, deep fried zucchini. And it made a lot of them. So we'll be eating those for a couple of nights. And I'll put this one back in the fridge for later. And this is the one that I'm going to cut up now. It's this one. And I'm going to cut it probably in half on the cutting board, and then I'm going to scoop all the seeds. Interestingly, the small ones that we used for the little circles with the panko crumbs and the Parmesan cheese, because they were so small, and I purposely picked them for that recipe for that, we didn't bother to, the seeds were so small in there, you didn't even notice there were seeds when you cook them, but these are quite a bit bigger. So I will clean those out, and then we will start grating it up. And I need 2 cups, I do believe. Yes, 2 cups of the grated, unpeeled zucchini. Probably easier to do it this way. As you can see, I just had a bite of these deep fried zucchini from last night. Not too bad cold either. Okay. All right, I cleaned those with a combination of cutting it out with a knife, the biggest parts, and then using this handy dandy little tomato corer for cleaning out the rest close. So now we're just gonna get busy and grate that. So while I do that, I will be just about done. I'll just have to get out 1/2 cup of raisins to add to that. And maybe while I am grating that, I'll let those raisins soak. I'll actually measure them and add them to this wet mixture just so the raisins have soaked a little bit, makes them a little bit softer. And I guess, Hunter, did you want out? Okay, and I'll let out the dog for a run. All right then. How about a heaping half cup of the raisins? Because Allan likes raisins. So there we go. Break those up into there. And the dog already runs back in. What can I say? In the door, out the door. You have pets, that's the things you'd have to do. Okay, buddy, back in the door. That's it. Sit. Okay, just mix those raisins in. And I'll get back to grating the zucchini. Take me a few minutes. Okay, I've done the first chunk, which probably makes quite a pile. Yes, it does. But you know what I'm going to also do? This little bit that was left over after I ran out of crumbs and stuff from making those Parmesan zucchini deep fried yesterday. I think I'll just use this little one up. See, there's no seeds compared to little ones, barely a seed recognizable. Whereas this one, you can see there's a lot of big seeds. If I put those in the compost, I guess I'll be having lots of zucchini, but they won't be true because I don't think they were open pollinated, those zucchini seeds. And you never know what the heck they're going to end up with. Probably not something that looks like a zucchini if I go and use those seeds. But anyways, these are, see how nice this grates because the skin is so soft because they were such less ripe zucchini. Okay, so I'll just carry on with that. I'll measure out and see how much I've got and see how much of this one I need to grate to make the 2 cups. And they can be heaping cups. So that's one. Just about 2, so I don't need much more to be grated off of this one. Okay. And that will be the last of it. 2 heaping cups of the grated zucchini. Put the rest back in the fridge for more muffins. Put the raisins back in. And then we'll be back to mix it all together with the dry ingredients. But first, I'm going to line the muffin pans with the cupcake liners. I mean, you can spray them, but there's enough oil, and I kind of like the paper liners better. Okay, so we'll be back and we'll start doing that. Just gonna mix this zucchini into there, into the wet mixture. Set that aside with the dry. Grab some of these muffin pans and start lining them with these jumbo liners. After I get this done, then before I mix the wet into the dry, then I will turn on the oven because you know how recipes say to turn the oven on first. So an hour later, you've had the oven and the electricity going. It just seems insane. So anyways, I have it timed down pretty good that I do this and then I'll turn the oven on and then I'll mix it together. And by the time I finish filling these cups, the oven's heated up to the right temperature. So we'll be back as soon as I get all these lined. All right. The oven is turned on at 375. I've chosen to use my wall oven, which I seem to always use that one instead of this oven that's here in the island. I have 2 ovens. Comes in very handy. Anyway, I've used the wall oven because A, it's higher when I'm putting things in and out. I'm going to bend down to this one. And also, I found it's a lot safer to use that one, even though I don't have the little toddlers, grandchildren with me today. When I'm baking and they're around, I always use the wall oven because they have a tendency to always be opening this lower door, and they can't, well, they can now, they're getting taller, but they didn't used to be able to reach that. Anyway, the oven's on, 375. I've made a well, in the middle of these dry ingredients. Just going to pour in all the wet. And now we're just going to stir it just to get it all moistened. All right. Looks like there aren't any more pockets. Oh, there was one. Go underneath. Make sure there's no pockets of dry ingredients there. Seems good now. And now I'm going to take this big spoon, I like to do. Try not to make a mess, and pour them into there. I do tend to fill them up quite full, 3/4. Makes a nice big muffin. Uh-oh. Dog's growling at somebody. Could be the postman. So anyway, I'm going to finish filling these up, and then I'm going to have them ready to pop into the oven. Okay. Oh, wow. I'm just cleaning up. I just finished all of these, and the oven just dinged. So there you go. Exactly the 24. Filled quite full, because I like them full. And now I'm just going to pop those into the oven for 25 minutes, I think it says. But I'll check that, and we'll see how it is. Wow, they are getting done quick and looking lovely. All right, those are all out of the oven. Took them about 27 minutes. 28, probably because I fill them fuller than they say. But it did make the 24, which the recipe originally back in the day did call for that it makes a dozen. So anyways, they're all done. They're out of the oven. They're going to cool here for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then I will lift them out and put them on the rack to cool further before I put them away in the freezer maybe. Or Allan, they're finally ready. He can stop complaining that they're not being made fast enough. So that being said, that they're all done and out, I'm gonna sign off, say goodbye, and hope you guys enjoyed watching me make these muffins, bran muffins with zucchini. Hope you find lots of good stuff to make with the zucchini you might have in your garden. Okay, until next time, you guys take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.